What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to FudgeMuppet. It's Scott here with another FudgeMuppet Skyrim Remastered build. This week we're reviving one of my absolute favourite characters, but just for you we've totally reimagined the backstory, revamped the role-playing, and revolutionised the skills, perks, and playstyle. This is the Telvanni Wizard. The Telvanni Wizard is the embodiment of the Telvanni way. House Telvanni, the mysterious mage lords of the East, isolate themselves in their magnificent mushroom towers, attaining wisdom and mastering the arcane arts in solitude, uninterested in the quarrels and qualms of outsiders. They are a group of dark elves known for their sense of supremacy and their support of slavery. Above all else, the Telvanni believe what is right is determined solely on the merit of one's power, and one's power is determined solely on the merit of their wisdom. And after an upbringing riddled with adversity, the Telvanni Wizard dedicated 200 years of his life to the acquisition of knowledge. There are few mortals wiser than him, and as a result he is capable of controlling everyone around him and bending them to his will. Before we get into the build, don't forget that timestamps can be found just below in the description, which are there to help you navigate throughout the video. But with that said, let's kick things off with the Telvanni Wizard's race, standing stone, and stats. The Telvanni Wizard is a dark elf, and this means he can channel his ancestors' wrath once per day for 60 seconds, creating a ring of fire around him, which damages for 8 points per second to those who come too close. Also, his Dunmer blood grants him a 50% resistance to fire, and as a dark elf he'll have natural bonuses of +5 to alchemy, alteration, and illusion, which all will be useful for the wizard. Early on, the best standing stone is the mage stone, as it really hones in on all of his main skills, but in the late game, however, the lord stone is the best pick, as it offers 50 points of armor rating and 25% to magic resistances. We know some of you are really fond of the Atronach stone and are probably mad at us for not including it, but we don't recommend it for this build, as the absorption effects really mess with your conjuration. As for your stats spread, put 50% in health to keep you breathing without serious armor, and then 50% in magic to help you when casting all of your spells. Due to the Telvanni Wizard's impressive ability to burn through magicka, we recommend focusing more on this early on, compensating into health once you feel you're efficient enough at casting your spells. The Telvanni Wizard was born and raised in Port Telvannis, and as a result he spent his entire life exposed to feats of Dunmer architectural and arcane brilliance. The city was a sprawling tangle of dense vines and giant magically formed mushroom buildings, and despite looking like a mess, there was a chaotic genius to the layout. The city wasn't restricted by the circumference of its borders, as the winding branches allowed homes and establishments to be suspended high up in the air. But despite the number of houses available in the town, the Telvanni Wizard was orphaned at a young age, and he had no memory of living in one of them. He knew nothing of his father except that he had been killed by another Telvanni over a simple dispute of ideas, and his mother vanished one day, never returning from work. The Telvanni Wizard had suspected that some shifty travelers had harmed her, but he didn't leave the confines of the almost exclusively Dunmer populated inner regions. When forced to fend for himself, the Telvanni was fortunate enough to work at the marketplace, selling potions and concoctions for a shrewd old merchant. When the bustle passed and it was time to go home, the wizard found a natural concave in one of the town's many thick vines shooting into the sky. He made this small person-sized hollow his home, lurking over the rest of the town. One day when he descended down the slick surface of the vine to return to the markets, he noticed that the marketplace was far more lively than usual. Everyone was gathered below a series of hanging bulbs attached to a long vine. The inside of each bulb was hollow, and the walls were formed by dozens of branches running vertically down the bulb. The Telvanni Wizard realized that these obscure plants were magically formed biotic cages, and inside each individual cage were weird-looking creatures shackled by their hands and feet. Some were green and scaly, while others looked like cats, but all of them were starved, their frail rib cages showing through their skin and fur. Amidst the ruckus, the wizard found the potion merchant, and he approached him, shouldering his way through the crowd. "What's going on?" the Telvanni asked. "It seems we have a new shipment of slaves being auctioned off," the merchant said. The Telvanni Wizard's head was racing, a kaleidoscope of thought. What determines who should be a slave and who should be a master? "This is the Telvanni way, boy. You ought to get used to it." The merchant grinned at the wizard's naivety. "Wisdom confers power, and power confers right." That night, heavy rain bombarded the city, and no matter how close he pushed himself to the inside wall of the vine's hollow, the Telvanni Wizard couldn't sleep without droplets hitting his face. He pondered on the merchant's words throughout the night. The answer in earnest was that nothing tangible grants one mortal innate control over another, but those in power decide what is and what isn't right. And as Telvanni, nothing suggested power like knowledge. His father obviously had been killed because he was weak and not smart enough. The Telvanni Wizard was determined to not suffer the same fate. From that moment onwards, the wizard started spending less of his meager pay on food and more on cheap worn books and tomes. He realized that his lack of a home was in fact an advantage. He wasn't restricted to the tangled confines of the city like the other Telvanni were so adamant to be. He had nothing worth protecting, so he packed up his few belongings and made his way down to the docks. The closer he got to the shore, the more foreigners he saw. While he knew not to trust them, he was eager to learn more of them. It seemed ironic to the Telvanni Wizard that a community so intent on acquiring wisdom could be so isolated. The Telvanni Wizard booked passage on board a small ship bound for mainland Morrowind, and from here he began his pilgrimage across Tamriel, dedicated to the collection of knowledge and wisdom. He was naturally resistant to trusting non-Dark Elves, but he found that conversing with everyone he met gave him some new insight into the world around him. For the next 200 years, the Telvanni Wizard visited every Mage's Guild hall, every library, and every scholarly establishment across the continent. His last stop before Skyrim was the Arcane University, where he spent several years scouring the mystic archives for every piece of information it had to offer. Once he closed the last remaining book in the archives, the Telvanni Wizard awoke from his hermit-like trance. His eyes stung in their sockets, and he realized he had spent a bit too long devoid of sunlight. It was time to visit the College of Winterhold. Alone and without protection, the Telvanni Wizard began to trek north. In the 200 years he'd travelled, he'd never been bothered by anything more than a few foolish packs of bandits, but he had read the desperation on their faces, predicted their movements, and struck them down in a blaze of fire every time. The Telvanni saying had proven true. Understanding and wisdom trumped all else, for it's easy to defeat and dominate that which you know. What the Telvanni hadn't been prepared for, however, was the tension present in Skyrim during the Civil War. He was confronted on the border of Skyrim and heavily outnumbered. So reluctantly, the Telvanni Wizard submitted and came quietly. After escaping, the Telvanni Wizard will develop a more profound interest in the dragons. He intends to learn more about them so that he can become more powerful than them. The Telvanni Wizard will prioritize the pursuit of wisdom above all else. He will be generally against associating with other races, but he will do so if it exposes him to knowledge he may not find otherwise. Essentially, he does nothing for the sake of helping others. He isn't charitable and is more interested in selfish gains, so he may come off as a bit of an asshole to those around him. As he is motivated by the idea of wisdom equating to power, he will always consider himself above anyone less intelligent than himself, and that means he may even choose to take a companion if they lack intellect and can be manipulated and treated as practically a glorified slave. Due to the immense power bestowed upon the items, the Telvanni Wizard will also seek out the Daedric artifacts, but he will take a particular interest in the artifacts of Hermaeus Mora and his realm of forbidden knowledge known as Apocrypha. As for factions, he will follow the main storyline, adopting his typical approach to challenges, which is, if I can master it and understand it, I can control it. This will inevitably bleed into the Dragonborn DLC, where he will continue this domination of the dragons, but he will be additionally motivated by the potential to find the Black Books and visit Hermaeus Mora's Plane of Oblivion. The Dragonborn DLC will also allow you to meet Neloth and to become a member of House Telvanni. He will also track down the College of Winterhold to extract all the knowledge he can from them, and he will follow the Dawnguard questline. Which side of the questline you side with is up to you. The Telvanni have been known not to shun vampires simply because of their contraction of the disease, so you are totally justified should you elect to take that dark path to gain the many powers and plethora of ancient knowledge associated with the Volkihar clan. With the acquisition of knowledge as the primary motivational factor, you can really join any guild or faction. For example, the Thieves Guild will open the door to some artifacts, while the Companions will enable you to study the Lycanthropy Curse. So with the Telvanni Wizard's backstory, role-playing, and factions laid out, here's how they'll translate into his skills, spells, perks, and playstyle. The main skills for this build will be Illusion, Conjuration, Alteration, Alchemy, and Enchanting. As you can tell, the Telvanni Wizard is very focused on magic, so you'll be relying on a variety of strong spells to come out on top in battle. Get your hands on the Flesh Alteration spells, Ebony Flesh being the superior option, then grab the Illusion spells, Frenzy and Pacify, and then get all of the Necromancy and Atronach Conjuration spells available. Top picks would be Dead Thrall and Conjure Dremora Lord. You may be thinking, where has Destruction gone? Well, don't worry, you won't be sitting back passively watching the action. The Telvanni Wizard is just more centered around being in control of the scenario. Destruction has a very high magical cost, while letting summons take care of business as the enemies kill themselves via frenzy is just more effective in every way. As a last resort damage dealer, you'll also have a dagger which you can whip out for extra damage, and as a collector of Daedric artifacts, you'll come across quite a solid dagger in the form of Mehrunes Razor. But anyway, with those spells mentioned, these are the wizard's essential perks. As I mentioned, the Telvanni Wizard stays true to Telvanni philosophy. Through wisdom, he can be in a powerful position controlling all of those around him, and that idea works perfectly for his illusion magic. From this skill tree, take everything except for quiet casting and master illusion. Master illusion is omitted as neither of your key illusion spells require master level, and as for quiet casting, the Telvanni Wizard isn't fussy about stealth. As for notable perks from this skill tree, Hypnotic Gaze and Rage are the top picks as they will allow your Frenzy and Pacify spells to work on higher level opponents. Up next we have Conjuration. Following the same theme as before, the Telvanni Wizard is in the driving seat, manipulating the will of others to serve him simply because he is superior to them. So what better way to mop up in the chaos of battle than with a couple of Dremora Lords? From this skill tree, go up the entire left branch, followed by the third branch and the far right branch, excluding Master Conjuration. The first and third branches will make your summoned and reanimated subjects considerably more effective in battle, and Twin Souls is hugely important, allowing you to control 2 Atronachs, or 2 Dremora Lords, or 2 reanimated dead at once. To top off your spellcasting skills, we've got Alteration. Unlike the other two, this one is primarily for self-preservation, as no wise seasoned mage goes into battle relying solely on his robe for protection. From this skill tree, we suggest taking the lot except for Alteration, dual casting, stability, and Master Alteration. The fleshed offensive spells are the most important ones, and 3 ranks of mage armor will make those spells much stronger as long as you aren't wearing physical armor, which the Telvanni Wizard won't be. Though do keep in mind this could be a problem if you are using the Shellbug helmet. Telvanni mages don't dominate their opponents by wandering thoughtlessly into a fight. They use their intelligence to prepare in every way possible, and the Telvanni Wizard prepares for battle by concocting potent potions and deadly poisons. With alchemy, you can make not only your blade more dangerous, but also all of your abilities significantly more effective. From the alchemy skill tree, grab the entire right-hand branch. Purify at the top of the branch is a great pick as it removes all negative effects from potions you drink and all positive effects from poisons you inflict on others. Our last skill is enchanting, and as usual this is a great way to reduce casting costs. From this skill tree we recommend going for the entire middle branch, as extra effect is a must, giving you a second enchantment slot on each enchantable item. So with those various skills and all of the corresponding spells, here's how the Telvanni Wizard will play. We can sum it up pretty well with that word: control. You'll set up the battle by drinking whatever potions you want and applying any poisons if necessary, then cast the best flesh spell in your arsenal with one hand before summoning 2 Dremora Lords or reanimating 2 dead. Once all of this is in play, you can switch out to your illusion spells, Pacify or Frenzy, and then you can oversee the conflict, calming opponents or turning them on one another. If you feel yourself needing to put in some extra damage, switch out to your dagger of choice and get hacking. As for gear, the Telvanni Wizard will of course be decked out in Telvanni robes. Until you can get those, just pick the most powerful robes you can find. On top of that, make sure you have a ring, a necklace, and a circlet enchanted with casting cost reductions. For pure role-playing bliss, you can also have the option, if you want, to switch the circlet up for a Shellbug helm to replicate the aesthetic of the cephalopod helms that the Telvanni wore in Morrowind. In terms of weaponry, Mehrunes' dagger is the obvious option, but if you're so inclined, you can create and enchant a dagger of your choosing. A Daedric dagger with absorb health and absorb magicka would be quite viable. Lastly, don't forget to brew a bunch of potions and poisons to give you that extra edge. There it is, guys. Subscribe to FudgeMuppet and give the video a like if you enjoyed the build. This has been the Telvanni Wizard. Don't forget that timestamps to help you navigate throughout the video can be found just below in the description, along with links to our social media accounts where you can keep up with everything Fudge. As always, thanks so much for watching, guys. I've been Scott, and I look forward to nerding out with you again very soon.